What's going on, everyone? Today we're going to talk about cloud security, and specifically or particularly in this video we are going to talk about AWS. So as a red teamer or even blue teamer, you may encounter some scenarios where you are required or where you may need to conduct some enumeration and reconnaissance on cloud resources. So let's say you have been hired by an X company where you will be required to do some enumeration and test the authentication or the authorization they have on their cloud resources. So in this video we're going to talk about that, and also we're going to talk about cloud S3 buckets or Amazon S3 buckets. So specifically, buckets are a way to store resources such as videos, files. So basically they are storage resources. Everything we store inside a bucket, we call it objects. So objects are files, video files, audio files, documents you may store in a bucket. An Amazon S3 bucket is a bucket that contains or has a list of objects that you may store inside it. Now, the purpose of S3 bucket is actually storage. It's a way to store data on the cloud. Now, also we're going to talk about IAM or Identity and Access Management, which is, as you can see, is a web service that helps you securely control access to AWS resources. Now, cloud buckets are AWS resources. EC2 instances are also AWS resources. So the way we handle, or the way AWS controls access to these resources, is through something called IAM, which is the same concept Google Cloud uses to just implement authorization and authentication on Google Cloud resources. So in concept they are the same, but in details they are not the same. So we're also going to talk about that. And lastly, we're going to talk about Amazon Elastic Container Registry. The registry, or ECR, is actually an online resource where you can store container images. So here you have it, the container images. Now, a container image is much like a virtual machine where you are able to deploy applications, package applications. Also, you can store different kind of OSs inside containers. So we're going to talk about that today. But again, we're going to talk about all of that from the perspective of a pen tester. So the first thing you may have to do, guys, is install the AWS CLI on your machine in order to interact with AWS resources. So the requirement, the guidelines to do that can be found here for Windows, Mac OS, and also for Linux. Now I'm using TryHackMe attack box, which has the AWS CLI installed by default, so I'm not going to do that. Also, we're going to jump now to the command line and start the enumeration process. So the first thing when you enumerate a cloud resource or an AWS resource, such as a cloud bucket, is its name. So let's say we're given this name, images.bestfestivalcompany.com, and by the way, this is part of Advent of Cyber 3. I couldn't remember the day. Let me find that. It's day 18 and day 17. But we're not going to read through the tasks. You can do that on your own. I'm going to explain the concepts and implement the scenarios so you can just focus on the concepts. So let me go back. So given we have this S3 bucket, the first thing we enumerate all the time is the contents of the bucket itself. So buckets are assigned names. In order to enumerate the buckets, we have first to use the corresponding command. So this command utilizes the AWS CLI, right? And then we put ls because we're interested in displaying the contents of the bucket and the name of the bucket. Every bucket starts with S3, indicating that this is Amazon S3 resource. And then we follow that by the name of the bucket. So in this case, the name of the bucket is Best Festival, as given by the scenario. Also, we paste that here. And lastly is the no sign request. No site request means we're trying to list the contents of the bucket without having an account in AWS. So if this is successful, it means that this bucket has the permissions where anyone can read its contents. So it means this is a public bucket. So upon hitting enter, we see we have all of the contents listed in here. So we call these objects. All right, these are objects. And among the objects, we have flag. If you are doing the challenge, you may be interested in displaying the content of that file and also the WB backup with zip. So as we said earlier, buckets are used as storage resources. So in this case, this bucket images.bestfestivalcompany.com is a public bucket because we are able to list its contents. Now the next thing we can do is to enumerate the to display the contents of every single object. All right, so let me go back to my notes and see here. By the way, you can get the notes by subscribing to the channel membership. Okay, so if I want to download specific object from the buckets, I'm gonna use this command. Okay, so now again we are using AWS CLI, and to download a specific object we use the CP or the copy followed by the name of the bucket. So in this case, this is the name of the bucket. Copy that and we replace the old one with the new one, and then I put dot here. Dot indicates that I want to download the resource here, okay, to my current working directory. You can specify the directory you are willing to retrieve the content to. And then no site request, it means no need for an AWS account since this is a public bucket. All right, so after the name of the bucket, I need to put the name of the objects. In my case, I'm going to retrieve the flag, which is something you want to see if you are doing the challenge. Now it has been downloaded. If I put ls on my machine, cat flag, I will be able to retrieve the content of the flag. All right, so the next thing is retrieving the zip file. Again, this is part of the challenge. So we replace flag.txt with the zip file. So wb backup. So now we are downloading the zip file. ls, we have the zip file in here. Now we unzip with unzip and specifying the name. Okay, that's good. Now we go to the unzipped directory. All right, so as you can see from the output, this indicates that we have a WordPress installation that has been backed up and stored in WB backup.zip. So if you are enumerating these buckets, you will be interested in finding out what are the secret keys, what could be sensitive information lying in there. So judging by the output, we are dealing with WordPress. So WordPress stores the sensitive information in WB config. So if we cat WB config, now we can see the sensitive information. The first thing, as you can see, we have DB user, DB password, DB host, but that is not only the only sensitive information you may find. If you scroll down, you can see custom values that have been added, and we can see there are bucket details or details related to the buckets. So we have S3, the bucket name, and we have the bucket key. Also, we have the secret and we have the region. Now, what are these? So basically, the first thing, we got it. It is the name of the bucket. The next thing is the bucket key. Now, if you go back to my very first explanations about IAM, so Identity and Access Management uses access keys and secrets in order to control access to AWS resources. So if you go back, we can see that this is the key, and the key always starts with AKIA. So whenever you see AKIA, it means that this is an access key connected to a bucket. And also we have the secret. The secret is 40 characters long and the key is 20 characters long. And this is the region in which the bucket is stored. Alright. Alright. Now let's go to the IAM part. Now, suppose that you are doing the enumeration and you have stumbled upon these credentials. So what can you do with these credentials? So now we have access key and we have secret. So what can we do with these? What we can do, guys, we can create a new profile, okay? Create a new profile, add these keys to your credential managers, and then you can start sending requests to access resources as the account owner. So because you have required or you have acquired the keys and the credential, the secret, let's say sensitive information, you will be able to build a profile much like the owner of the profile, and then be able to send requests, access requests to Amazon resources as the profile owner. Let's see how we can do that. The first thing, we have to configure a new profile name. So we can configure a new profile name using this command. So we're going to take the command using the AWS CLI. So AWS configure -- profile, and then we name the profile. I'm going to name it PWN for pawn. Now it's asking me about the access key. Now since I'm impersonating another profile, so I'm going to use the access key I have just acquired, which is here. Now AWS secret access key, which is here. And lastly, the region name. The region name is US East 1. Format. Now we have created a new profile called pawn. This is our profile, right? But the access key and a secret access key are connected to another profile. Now what does that mean? It means, as I said earlier, guys, I can send access requests from this profile, and it will be recognized as the owner, the original profile that owns these credentials. Okay, so if I put ls now and cd back, so I want to find out where does that profile exist. So ls/la, or go to root. Now you will find a directory called AWS. cd to .aws ls/la. You have two files, config and credentials. These are files that are created when you first create your profile. If we cat credentials, you can see these are the access keys we have previously acquired. If we cat config, you see the configuration of our profile. The name is PWN or pawn, and the region is US East 1. Now that's how we use the acquired credentials to build a new profile. Now the next thing we will do, guys, is, as I said earlier, we send access requests to the resources connected to the profile that owns the access keys we have just acquired. But the first thing, we have to acquire the account ID. All right. Now the account ID we can retrieve the account ID by using this command. So here again, get access key info -- access key ID. Here we put the access key itself, which is here, and then -- profile pawn. So here we retrieve the account ID itself. We will need that to be able to send access requests. The next thing is we're gonna find the username. So finding the username with this command. And as you can see, we get the account details. So now, using the access key and the secret key, I was able to retrieve information about the account owner of these keys, which are, first we have the user ID. The user ID starts always with AIDA, and we have the account ID, and also I have the ARN. and always the ARN ends with the username. So this is the username of the account. Once you have found the username, you will be able to enumerate all of the resources that this account uses. For example, we can list the EC2 instances that the username has created. We can do that with this command. So as you can see, AWS EC2 describe instances, and we specify the output to be in text, mention the profile we have created, and because we're using the access keys of the profile owner, we are able to list the instances. So for example, if we scroll down, we have tags in here. In the tags, we can see there is an instance called HR Portal, created by ELF Mac HR. That's how we list these instances, and we can see here the IP address, private IP address as well. All right, so after we have enumerated the instances, and after we have discovered the account, and after we have discovered also the access key and the secret key, we will be shifting the focus now to the Credential Manager. We want to get access to the Credential Manager. Normally in AWS, the Credential Manager is the place where all of the system information are stored. That passwords, API keys, whatever comes to your mind. So now we would like to access the Credential Manager of that account. So we can do that with the Secret Manager command. So first we will retrieve the contents of the Secret Manager or the Credential Manager. So I'm gonna use this command. So AWS Secret Manager list secrets -- profile bwn, and here we list the secrets. So if you scroll up, you will see the first one. The first one is the, as you can see, ARN, and as I said earlier, ARNs end with the username itself, as with this one. So if you scroll down, we have HR password, and description of that is portal database secret. And we have the following tags that consist with key value pairs, as you can see here. So now we know that there is some sort of database, portal DB secret. We can retrieve a specific secret from this list. So these are the secret lists, right? Now we are interested in finding out more about this secret. So what we can do here, we can use the next command, which retrieves specific secret. Let's dissect this command. Scroll down. Now, AWS Secret Manager, this time we use the get secret value. Okay, -- secret -id is the name of the secret itself, which is HR password. Next, we specify the profile -- profile bwn, and indeed we were able to access the secret string. But as you can see, instead of having database password, we are presented with a statement that's saying the secret you are looking for is not in this region. Santa wants to have low latency to his databases. Look close to where he lives. This is a hint, guys, that you need to specify the region in your command. For example, in this command, I am trying to access or retrieve the secret value of this secret, which we found earlier. Now, there might be some times we need to specify the region at which the credential or the account exists. In this case, we specify -- region and the region itself. For example, we can, this region exists in US, so we can specify also EU, for example, South 1. Okay, let's specify North. So North worked, and upon specifying the region, you can see we got the secret string, which is the database password, by the way. All right, so that is a glimpse on AWS, let me say, enumeration of the resources. We have talked about AWS buckets and AWS IAMs. Now we're gonna talk about the last part of this video, which is the ECR. The ECR is the Elastic Container Registry, which again contains the container images. Now, most of the time, the containers are stored in Docker or are خلاص خرب الفيديو. Now, ECRs, as we said earlier, contain container images, right? Most of the time, container images are stored in ECRs using the Docker technology. So the enumeration, when it comes to enumeration, the first thing is we have to get the Docker, or we have to get the container image URL. Okay. Now in this challenge, or in this video, as per the scenario, this is the ECR, and this ECR, as we said earlier, contains Docker images. You want to retrieve them. You want to get access to these images. You want to find out what's stored in there. So we will use the name of this ECR. This is the name of the ECR, as you can see from here. Now we copy that, and we go to the command line, and we pull the images inside this ECR. So we type docker pull. I'm going to change to another directory. I don't want to mix things up. So make the new directory, make directory, name it ECR, cd ECR. All right, so docker pull, paste in the name, and we enter. So now we are retrieving the container images stored in this ECR. It takes some time depending on the download speed. Now we will be able to interact with the image. The way to interact with the image, guys, is to use docker run followed by the name of the image. This will result in a shell inside the container itself. So now, as you can see, the prompt changed to a shell. This shell is inside the container. So now we are inside the container itself. So if you type ls in here, you will see the contents of the container. Okay. So another way of doing that is we retrieve the image itself, or the container image, in a .tar extension. So we can exit from here, and actually saving the container image to your local environment is actually way easier than interacting with the image itself inside the container. So that's why I'm going to use now docker save -o, specify the name of the output. Let's say it is ECR.tar, and then specify the name of the container image. So we're going to pull that to our local directory. Let's see here. Okay, ls. So now I have the container image tar file. So now tar-xdf, and specify the image name. Okay, let me go over the output in here. As you can see, these are the layers of the container image. And at the end, we see the manifest.json. The manifest.json, or the manifest.json, is a file, or the configuration file of the container image. It contains the configurations, all of the values that were configured when the image was first built. So if we cat manifest now, we see all right, so instead of using the cat, as you can see, the output is not so tidy and neat, so we can use a tool called JQ. So we're going to cat and output this to JQ for a pretty output. So JQ, yeah, that's way better. That explains the configuration of the image. As you can see, the configuration are stored in this file, right? And here we see the layers. Now every layer could contain sensitive information, by the way, so you have to enumerate every single layer. These layers are actually stored in the directories when we first unzipped the image itself. As you can see, these images are, or these layers are stored in these directories. So you can go over them one by one to find out credentials or sensitive information. So your job now is to, the first thing, as you can see, we have a config file in here. Now this config file is stored somewhere. Let's go back. Now, as you can see, also the config file is actually here. Now we can cut its content and again pipe that to JQ for a pretty output. JQ. Okay. If you scroll up now, you see every single command, every single configuration command that has been used throughout the entire life cycle of this application. So each section contains the commands, as you can see, that were run by the Docker daemon when the image was being built. So these are the commands, as you can see here, for everything, for every section you can see the commands that have been used or issued by the Docker daemon. Of particular interest, we see /bin/sh-c git clone, and there is something that's being retrieved or was being retrieved from GitHub repository and stored in a directory called root/environment console. So everything that is being retrieved or has been retrieved online by the Docker image forms a particular interest for you as a pen tester during the enumeration process. You can also take a look at the other commands that have been run during the image building process. So if we scroll again, if we list the contents, again, as I said earlier, in order to complete enumeration, we have to go over every single layer directory. Now, if you go to this one, now I'm jumping to this one because I have done this before, but to save time, I'm just skipping directly to the answer. So if you go to this layer, you'll see the layer file. You're gonna unzip this one. So now we have, as you can see, the configurations. Now, of particular interest, we see config.hcl. If we cat this one, and again, we pipe this to JQ, parse error invalid numeric literal at line 1. Okay, how about this? All right. Now we see the configuration of this tool that has been retrieved from GitHub, and stumbling upon something here, I saw a token. So this is an example of stumbling upon sensitive information while you do, enumeration for cloud resources. Normally, if you're looking for a specific token or password, you can use grep, or you can use find to just skip exactly to that token. But again, by displaying the contents of this file, we are able to find the token itself. Now that concludes the video of today. Again, if you're interested in answering the questions, you can go back to the challenges. Let me show you the answers for the challenges. So they are for day 22, day 17 and 18. For day 17, we ask about the name of the bucket. We have done that. The image left in the flag file, and again the contents or the file, the zip file, the access keys, the account ID, the username. We've discovered all of these while we were doing bucket enumeration. And for the next section here, all you have to do is just to answer with the right comments. Docker images, to list the Docker images in the local system, to save a Docker image in tar format, and to put the file that contains the configuration of the bucket itself. And lastly, this is the token that we were talking about when we first got access to the Docker image itself. So that was for today. I hope you found that video informative, and see you in the next video.